you saw the flash mob that we did on Saturday, and as someone who's in charge of the terminal environment, all I can tell you is that was a challenge to get all those people through security. Can you imagine all the non-travelers, right? And what we had to explain to TSA in order to get them through. So I am going to be using some notes today because I'm talking about the 50th anniversary and the 50 years of history of DFW. I don't want to misstate my facts, so I've got some notes here. But I'll say, just in conversations with some of you since I've come in, I'm truly just humbled by how much history you already know about DFW. I almost would rather just sit down and have you come up and talk about all of your experiences with DFW. But it is my turn, so I will go ahead and go. This year, let me get coordinated. Okay. DFW is celebrating its 50th anniversary of operations, which began late on the night of January 13th, 1974, when DFW Regional Airport opened for business. And a lot has happened in the last 5 decades, and I'm excited to walk you through a bit of our history before we turn to what's on the horizon for DFW. So to begin with, the history of DFW is really the history of coming together of communities in this region. When the cities of Dallas and Fort Worth came together to build DFW, the founders really envisioned a great airport that connected North Texas to the world. And the plan for DFW was to create the largest, most ambitious airport in U.S. history. And so I'd like to play you a little snippet from the early 1970s explaining what that founding vision was all about.
Here, midway between Dallas and Fort Worth, I'm standing in the middle of the world's largest air center. From here, you can only see the shape. You cannot begin to absorb the immensity or the significance of what will become one of the most immense, one of the most significant works of man in the entire world. As you can see, we're well along with the construction of the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. And by now, you can begin to appreciate the vast scale of this project. It covers an area of more than 17,000 acres. That's larger than all of Manhattan Island. Our airport is located in the center of the mushrooming Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's Dallas off to the east, about 17 miles from where I'm standing. And over there, about the same distance, is Fort Worth, where the west begins. Getting a feeling of magnitude now? You're looking at a 2,500 square mile chunk of growth potential. And our Dallas-Fort Worth Airport sits square in the middle of it.
All right, and so in 1965, the cities of Dallas and Fort Worth formed an interim board to plan and develop what would become our DFW Regional Airport. The plan called for our famous semicircular terminal design and runways on 2 sides of a massive airfield. By 1973, the airport was complete and the Concorde made its first landing in the U.S. at DFW Airport prior to opening during a 2-day community celebration of the new airport. On January 13th, 1974, the airport opened as DFW Regional Airport with 4 terminals, 3 runways, and 66 gates. American Airlines Flight 341 was the first official flight to land from Little Rock, Arkansas, marking the official opening of DFW Regional Airport. Okay, there are several slides here now that will just take you through like then and now. At that time, we were the world's largest airport by land area, and now we're the 3rd largest airport by land area. And the ones that beat us, do you want to take a guess? Does anyone want to shout out? Denver is one, and the other I'm going to give you because you probably don't know, King Fahd in Saudi Arabia. So those are the 2 airports by land area that exceed our airport. Okay, and then back then we were 4 terminals, 3 runways, and 66 gates, which I think is impressive for 1974. Now we're 5 terminals, soon to be 6, and I'll talk about that. 7 runways and 171 gates. Okay, in 1974, we had 9 airlines, most of them no longer with us. And today we have 28 different airlines providing passenger service. We had 6.8 million passengers in the first year. So what we do in the airport industry is we count passengers, how many came in a calendar year. And so 6.8 million passengers in the first year, and now we're at 80 million passengers. Cargo. So cargo is an important piece of our business, and we tend not to think about it because we all travel as passengers. Cargo actually doesn't generate a whole lot of revenue to the airport itself, because if you think about it, there are no passengers to spend money, there's nobody to park a car, it's just boxes and pallets, right? But it generates tremendous economic impact for the region, so it's something we really are concerned with. 75,000 tons of cargo in its first year, and then now we're up to 791,000 tons of cargo at DFW. Okay, we've seen many milestones over our first 50 years. I've shared some of them with you, but also some others to take note of. In 1979, American Airlines moved its headquarters from New York to Fort Worth. I heard somebody asking about that earlier. It was 1979 when they moved their headquarters from New York to Fort Worth, establishing DFW as its first hub in 1981. In 1985, DFW was renamed from Dallas-Fort Worth Regional Airport to Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. In 1989, we became the first commercial airport to welcome the space shuttle landing. In 1996, we became the only airport in the world with 7 runways. In 2005, we opened the new Terminal D as well as our Skylink train. And in 2023, so last year, we established a new use and lease agreement, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but this use and lease agreement is a really big agreement between an airport and its airlines, and it governs the operation of that airline at that airport. It also includes a lot of things like how much money we're going to charge them and that kind of thing. But we negotiated, as part of our agreement last year, we negotiated the reconstruction, the tear down and reconstruction of Terminal C, as well as the new construction of Terminal F. So I'll speak more about that in a minute. And after 50 years, DFW has become not only an economic driver for the region, but a large contributor to the success story of North Texas. We have grown to be the second busiest and one of the most connected airports in the world. With our central location, DFW allows customers to reach any major metropolitan area in North America within 4 hours. So it's a very appealing benefit, for example, to companies when they want to relocate. They relocate where they can fly their people in and out quickly and get them across the United States. We have 28 passenger airlines that help us be one of the most connected airports in the world. And today we employ 2,000 board employees. So I'm a board employee. I work for the airport, the administration of the airport itself. But there are also 60,000 employees at the airport every day that work for airlines or work for concessionaires or as custodians. There are many, many jobs. So 60,000 airport employees. I will say just as an aside, one of the most dramatic things that I saw in the initial stages of the pandemic was that there were time periods where we had literally more employees at the airport than we had customers. And it was really it was sort of shocking to someone who's been at the airport a long time like I have. And our economic impact to the region, I've shown here on this slide, that has grown considerably to $38 billion in direct and indirect payroll supported by the airport, as well as $24 billion in visitor spending. That's one of those things that, in particular with international service, you see those people spending a lot when they come here to visit. And DFW has nonstop flights to 64 international destinations. So you can get really virtually anywhere across the globe nonstop. It's a tremendous benefit that we have and enjoy as residents of this region. And while we've grown, we've also built a reputation as a critical contributor to Texas's success and an innovative leader in aviation. We are committed to environmental sustainability in every aspect of our operations, and we're actually the largest carbon neutral airport in the world, thanks to 100% wind power operations. We're on track to achieve net zero carbon by 2030, which is 20 years ahead of the rest of the industry. So we're actually very forward-looking when it comes to things environmental, especially in the United States. One key piece to achieving this goal is the addition of the industry's first electric central utility plant, or we call it the ECUP. So we broke ground on this facility just last year. This facility will provide heating and cooling to our terminals and other facilities, and it will be the first of its kind among U.S. airports. And this is the part that I'm most passionate about, is the customer experience at DFW. So we really focus on delivering on the basics. We talk a lot internally about being clean, working, and friendly, and saying, okay, our customers want us to have everything clean, everything working, and then we need to deliver Texas hospitality. And in the terminals, you can experience more than 250 shops and restaurants, as well as interfaith chapels. We have chapels in every single terminal, and because we have roughly 250,000 people a day in the terminals, there are people with all kinds of things going on, right? And many of them do seek out our chapels. We've also got a nice airport art program as well. We just recently won the honor of the 2022 Airport Service Quality Award for Best Large Airport in North America. We were also recognized by J.D. Power as well. So to keep up with the swift pace of change, we also focus on innovation and looking at how we might do things better. Couple of examples that are, real that people will benefit from is that we just negotiated a deal with AT&T to improve our Wi-Fi. People in the terminals expect fast Wi-Fi. They expect, again, that's part of the working and clean, working, friendly. And we want to be sure that we deliver that experience for them. So we've also added some cashierless store options. So sometimes you go into a store and the cameras and everything and the AI knows what you've picked up off the shelf and charges you on the way out. You do have to swipe your card at the beginning, but the cameras are recognizing what you're picking up from the shelf and whether you've put it back. If you put it back, they don't charge you. And then you can just walk out of the store. We've also invested in enhanced security measures through new biometric technologies. If you happen to have boarded an international flight recently, you'll notice as you board that many times they don't ask for your boarding pass. But there will be an iPad right there, and it's taking a picture of your face. What it's doing is it's matching that face to what Customs has on your passport and what Customs is expecting you to look like. And then it will let you board if the face matches. Okay, so the image that we have right here is an example of both current and future innovations at DFW. So this is what the new gates of Terminal C look like. So we renovated roughly 5 gates at the end of Terminal C. We call them the high C gates because it's C35 through C39. Those are the highest numbers, so we call them the high C gates. But the gates were built by industry-leading innovation called modular construction. So what we did for these 5 gates is we had to demolish the 5 gates that were there prior because they were end of life. And then we actually built the gates off-site, away from the terminal. They were on airport property. We built them away from the terminal, and then we trucked pieces in and attached them to the end of the actual terminal. So kind of like Legos, okay? And I'm going to show a video. But this is very innovative in the airport space in terms of no one builds a terminal like this. But what happened is it saved us 30% in cost. You think about just all the security. If you're working in an active airport environment and you're building something, all of your hammers have to be screened, all of your, everything, not to mention the background check of every single worker and everything. If you're around an aircraft, it's a highly secure environment. So if we're able to construct a little bit away from the aircraft and then truck the building in, now you think, how could you possibly truck in an immense terminal? Well, we did these gates, I think, in 4 pieces. And there are little, I'm calling them tugs, but I'm sure they have an official name, that actually take the 4 sections and brought them in. So they went 1 mile an hour, they went very slowly, and they traveled about 1 mile. And it took most of the night to put one in place, and we did it 4 times. So this is a method that we're going to be using going forward for construction. So I'll show you a little video about that. So it's pretty amazing. You do all the studies you can, you pay all the engineers, and they tell you, okay, we're going to get the building there, and we can do it, okay. But the most nerve-wracking thing, the nail-biting thing, was you could see the building trying to go under the Skylink guideway, under the train, and it cleared by 4 inches. And they told us it would, but still, there were a lot of people on site to watch, make sure it really went under. And so that was a super cool thing, a great feat.
So is that the future?
And that's the future of construction at DFW. I mean, how can you save 30% on time and cost and not do that again? Yeah. So that's how we're going to be building in the future. And so it's quite the engineering feat to have to transport parts of a building. And you really finish most of the building, except for like the interior fit out. You finish most of it off site and then truck it in. It's very, heavy. Okay, so with the new use and lease agreement that I talked about, that's that master agreement that we have with the airlines, between us and our airline partners, we will begin a $9 billion capital and infrastructure improvement plan. So it was referenced earlier, the $4.8 billion, that's included in the 9. The 9 includes things like the E-Cup and other activities as well. So we're going to have $9 billion worth of construction going on. And it's roughly split a third, a third, a third. So a third will be on the airfield. So we need to rehabilitate runways because they're 50 years old and it's time. Landside projects will be a third. Landside is what we call like roadways. So that big roadway, International Parkway that goes down the middle, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff to that. So you'll see that. And then facilities, that's things like terminal infrastructure. Okay, so some of the components that you'll see that are construction related starting in 2024, we'll be starting the construction of our new Terminal F. That will be our 6th terminal, and we'll be building the 15 gates, which is phase 1 of Terminal F. We will also begin the complete tear down and rebuild of Terminal C, which is our oldest terminal that hasn't been touched at all. We will begin the construction of the new E-Cup that I mentioned earlier. We will rehabilitate one of our runways, one of our main runways. And then International Parkway will begin to look different as we do a rehabilitation project. Now, this is the thing that most local people are interested in. One of the impacts of the International Parkway roadway project is that all of the exits are going to be right-hand exits instead of left. Can you believe it? So that's a pretty big undertaking. When I listen to people explain to me how we're going to do that, I'm like, because we have bridges, right? We have so many bridges. Well, the bridges were coming up on the end of their useful life. They had to be replaced anyway, and they said, you know what? Let's just make everything right-hand turns. Because you have people that will just cut over, because they don't realize it's a left-hand turn, and then at the end they cut across the traffic. Anyway, So this will be a great customer enhancement, but it will take us 3 years to get there because it's going to take a while to do all those bridges and roadways. We'll also be adding a total of 9 gates to terminals A and C. These will be piers at the so all of our terminals right now are semicircular, and these will be just a little pier that will stick out of terminals A and C. American Airlines needs those gates if we're going to be constructing and tearing down gates in the rest of C. Correct. Yeah, similar. Yeah, and the Stinger in B, we call it a Stinger. Yeah. We will begin work on the long-awaited 19th Street cargo facility. So again, an investment in cargo. And then we'll continue focusing on safety as we work on our third end-around taxiway. So you can kind of see down there at the bottom, the end-around taxiway. We benefit from having so much land that it enables us to create this end-around taxiway. And the situation there is that it allows aircraft to, it will limit the need for planes to cross active runways. And so it gets you to your gate faster, essentially. Okay, and I mentioned Terminal C is our oldest terminal that has not been renovated like the others have. Later this year, we'll begin the process of demolishing and rebuilding that terminal. One of the things that we're super excited about for Terminal C, currently in Terminal C, one of the limiting factors is the number of columns that are in that terminal. It really limits your ability to see as a customer to be able to have visibility across the terminal. And so we actually have more than 500, we counted, columns in Terminal C. And we're going to take it down to less than 50. So this will really improve visibility as you walk throughout the terminal. We'll utilize, of course, new technologies. And then I will show you a little preview of Terminal F. This terminal will step away from the semicircular design and will add a total of 15 gates along with more space for new concessions and shopping opportunities. So F will house all of the carriers, not American Airlines, not international. So think like United and Spirit, Delta, you know. If Southwest comes, then Southwest. So that'll be the first 15 gates of Terminal F, and then if we get to a point where we need additional gates, then we will start the rest of Terminal F. But for right now, it'll be the first 15 gates. Okay, so this is top secret stuff. But so we have, so F is like just a long horizontal, like a rectangle, right? So if you put a rectangle right next to that rectangle and you had something that connected you between the two, it would go. That's what we're thinking right now. Subject to change, it could change, but right now that's the plan. Yeah. So it is a departure from the semicircle. As we look to the future, we intend to be on the forefront of new technologies within the industry and, let me advance this slide. Okay, including in the 2020s, looking at reimagined passenger spaces, revitalized roadways, improving infrastructure. These are the things that I talked about, the electric central utility plant, and then biometrics and airport journey personalization. So we really do see a time, and you'll see that it probably will evolve in the 2030s, but when your face will kind of take care of everything for you. Your face will enable you to board the aircraft. Your face will enable you to get through security. Your face will, even at some point, will connect and to where you can pay for your hamburger just with your face and not take out a credit card or anything. So we see the continued addition of biometrics. Now in the United States, that's always optional for US customers. So if you want to opt out, you can. In the 2030s, of course, I talked about our net zero carbon emissions and beginning to see the integration of autonomous vehicles. We have a lot of situations at the airport where a vehicle might go a predetermined route back and forth. Say it's a tug and it's towing, it's bringing luggage to an aircraft. Well, it maybe does that route a lot. And so that might be a good candidate for an autonomous vehicle. Instead of it needing a driver, you can program it to go and do that for you. Okay, and then in the 2040s, like I talked about, that fully autonomous passenger experience where, again, your face is kind of the ticket to everything. We're also looking at urban air mobility integration. This would be air taxis. And how do we plan for air taxis to come into the airport? And where does that make sense for us? I know that a lot of people who live in some far-flung places like Frisco or places like that are interested in avoiding the traffic, right? And if an air taxi can get them there, that's what they want to do. So we're looking into and doing the planning for how might we accommodate that and what's the best way for us to do that. And then finally, with that, I want to thank you for being a part of our 50-year journey. Some of you, the full 50 years, and some of you less. But without your support, we wouldn't be the economic presence that we are and provide the international service that we do for you today. And I'll end with another video.
On January 13th, 1974, a vision to transform travel took flight.
Great ceremony, which is going to be the kickoff for the construction of the greatest airport in the world.
DFW Airport's first commercial service was the culmination of years of planning, coordination, construction, and development. And it was the start of a half-century of changing what aviation meant to North Texas and the world.
So we got the biggest and the best.
But none of it would have been possible without our customers. Thank you for a half-century of trusting DFW Airport with your business trips, vacations, last-minute getaways, and journeys around the world. And what would the airport be without our partners?
The luck of the draw gave American Airlines the right to officially land first at the new airport.
Thank you for believing in the dream of DFW Airport and continuing to invest in the growth and development of DFW and North Texas as a whole to meet the needs of travelers around the world. And of course, DFW Airport would not be what it is today without our employees, past and present. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication to making our airport a more efficient, comfortable, and friendlier place for every customer who steps foot on the property. Finally, thank you to the cities of Dallas and Fort Worth for your vision, which has come to life in unbelievable ways over the last 5 decades. Without the ongoing support of our North Texas region and their communities, what has happened here over the last 50 years and what we have planned for the next 50 would be impossible.
We look forward to the next chapter of innovation, partnership, and endless possibilities. Thank you for your support, and here's to the next 50 years.
So thank you for your time today. I don't know if we have time for a couple of questions. Okay, happy to answer a couple questions. Yes?
What happened to all the dinosaurs that we dug up and I think Branham had them?
We're asking some hard questions. So we do, I know that there's at least one that is in our, I mentioned the electric central utility plant. Well, we have an actual just central utility plant. And inside that central utility plant, the dinosaur is preserved. There's,
Wasn't there more than one?
I only know of the one. I'm sorry.
I went to the Dallas Museum of Natural History, so it's probably below now.
I think it's gone.
No, I think it's probably a Rome Museum. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Branham had a good display.
Did they?
Remember Branham?
I don't. So at DFW, I've been at the airport a long time. You know, everybody's like, oh, you've been at the airport 26 years. But in this room, I feel like I haven't been there very long. So y'all know more than I do.
It was a quarter again,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Anybody any other questions about the report?
What train service to me?
Oh.
Train service to it. And what's the future of that look like?
So we do partner with the TRE and the DART rail. And so they both come into, I think DART comes into A and the TRE comes into B. And so as they grow, you know, then that will help. I'll tell you, the people that use it the most, the rail service, is is a lot of employees, so concessions employees in particular, and different employee groups, as well as our international visitors, because that's the first thing when they get here is they're like, where's the train, you know? And so, so not so much probably as like locals, but other than employees. So it doesn't have a lot of ridership, but as soon as but I know that DART and TRE have plans to grow their networks in their cities, and so we'll benefit from that, I'm
So no
sure.
fixed plans now, but as business grows.
Yeah, I mean, we have stations at the airport, so we're ready. So as soon as they, bring more folks in, we're ready. Yeah. Did you have it? Yeah.
What's your source of energy for your EV center? Solar?
I don't know, sir. I'm sorry. I
imagine solar's gonna be a lot of it.
I think solar and wind is what I think, but I'm not in a sustainability group. I'm sorry, that's a hard question for me. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I can get you the answer. Okay, I will. So the source of energy for the new E-Cup, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll get you that.
All right, anything else? Well, Sharon, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great.